Good morning. On behalf of Engineering Design Systems and Autodesk, we'd like to welcome everyone to today's webcast. Before we start, just a couple of quick housekeeping items. Participants will be in a listen-only mode. We will be monitoring questions via the chat box located at the bottom of your screen. This session will be recorded, and an email with a link to this recording will be sent to all participants. In the world today, we're experiencing an unprecedented pace of change. At EDSI, we understand it is a challenge to navigate this pace of change. Through both live and online seminars like this one today, EDSI strives to bring our clients products and information that help you succeed in the marketplace. On a separate front, we're developing a new initiative and a dedicated solutions group. This group is taking a new approach to work proactively with a number of our clients to provide the services necessary to help our clients become leaders in leveraging technology. These services in many instances go far beyond our traditional scope and include BIM management, coordination services, and evaluation of processes and workflows. If your company has interest in partnering to take your implementation of technology to a new level, drop us a line and we can set up a meeting to tell you more about some of our new service initiatives. The topic of our session today is about an innovative tool set from Autodesk that facilitates collaboration on projects. As BIM adoption continues to grow, it's important for firms to develop effective methodologies to communicate and collaborate during the design process. Today, we will be demonstrating two products that do just this. Collaboration for Revit, or C4R, and BIM 360 Team are powerful applications that are purpose-built for BIM collaboration. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce our presenter today, Cesar Ruest with Autodesk. Cesar is an Autodesk Construction Solutions Advisor, and he's based out of Toronto, Canada. He focuses on Autodesk software solutions that incorporate process improvements and best practices. Cesar is all about assisting clients in making a difference in the design world. With over 20 years experience in the AEC marketplace, Cesar meets with executives and capital project stakeholders as a trusted advisor, identifying data interoperability improvements that result in operations and maintenance efficiencies. So with this, I'm going to turn over controls to our presenter, Cesar Ruest.
Excellent. Wow. Thanks for the great introduction. Good morning, everybody. Let's dig right into this. Happy to be here today from sunny Toronto. And our topic of collaboration for Revit is not going to leave anybody out of the loop. This product specifically, we're going to hit three categories within collaboration for Revit. Three categories. We're going to focus on the Revit folks first, because without Revit, there would be no collaboration for Revit. So Revit is at the heart of collaboration for Revit. But that being said, we will let our friends within the AutoCAD, Microsoft Office, and anybody else within the project delivery cycle have access to the team site. So we're going to talk about Revit and the interface. We're going to talk about the ability to communicate through Revit in chatting sessions. And then lastly, again, everybody needs to play nice in the sandbox. So let's bring the rest of the team in that is facilitating other file formats, and how can they be part of the collaboration for Revit and BIM 360 team experience. So let's pick on our first group. It's all about accessing the project data. So for those of you using Revit, tune into this. And those of you that want to learn more about Revit, so for example, I have a lot of new contractors and sub-trades who have been using AutoCAD for a long time, and they get really surprised whenever I say, you can actually have an entire firm working on a single file at the exact same time. Architects and engineers have known this for a long time, but the construction, medium-sized contractors, sub-trades, they're not familiar with this. They're familiar with AutoCAD being a single-based, you can only open up and work on one file at a time. Well, Revit, you can work on one file across multiple people at the same time. So those firms that have been doing this for a while, the architects and engineers, for the most part, are the ones who buy Collaboration for Revit, or a general contractor who is part of a design build group, and the general contractor is the head of that group. Collaboration for Revit would be for that entire team. And essentially, in a nutshell, it is the Revit central file living in the cloud. It's as simple as that. All of your best practices on how you work with central files still takes precedence. So let's dig into it. So before Collaboration for Revit showed its head in this arena, we used to have firms saying, how can we use some technology to have central file across multiple geographic locations and offices? So this is in the past, what used to be done. So make no mistake, if you needed to do this yesterday before investing in Collaboration for Revit, you would be spending money and people time and hardware and a giant cup of leap of faith for the project manager, because all of this had to be working in simultaneously to have what I call multi-firm concurrent authoring. The key point of this one here was the VPN connection. So you can put that by the wayside, and essentially with the investment of a Collaboration for Revit, you've already got Revit, so you just basically tack on that service, and the service is per user who needs to run Collaboration for Revit. And you ask the general question. I'm all about keeping it simple, and I like using lay terms, and I try to stay out of the weeds with the geek terminology. So ask the question: who needs to use Revit and monitor or actively work on the central file? And those people that put their hands up, those would be an active purchase license and use of Collaboration for Revit. And essentially, firm A and let's say firm A and firm C, let's say that's the same architectural firm. So we'll put this as arch, and let's say this is mechanical and this is structural. These firms can do a couple of things. If it's a small project, they could actually just work off of a single Revit file across all of these 3 offices and players. But in bigger, more complicated projects, hospitals, airports, and projects that may be scrutinized with a lot of detail, then maybe you continue to do your own separate files and you share them to the cloud. And then when, for example, firm A needs to grab a file, they will basically link that Revit file back into their workflow, and so on and so forth. So essentially, and I'm not trying to disparage any of my IT friends out there, it's not about IT. There is no IT or expensive hardware. Some people like this picture, some people don't. This is the IT person, and this is my project manager who feels like they need to jump through hoops sometimes. So, there's no IT required for this, but IT really should be aware of their internal network as well as some of their minimum system capabilities. The entry bar is very, very low to using Collaboration for Revit through the internet. Very, very low, like 5 megabits per second. You typically have, most people have good networks as it is today. It's not like we're coming out of the dark ages. And then this is a part of what we're going to preview is how do you leverage the cloud now? And so this is all about, I'm going to highlight all about viewing, commenting, and marking up. And, stay tuned, because I'm going to show my smartphone and I'm going to show team leveraged through my smartphone for commenting and marking up. Overall, we can do a lot from the phone and of course from your desktop as well. So if I put my little geek hat on for a second here, there's me with my little triangular hat. You should know that we're not going to kill your bandwidth overall. So any delta changes, we add a door, we add a window, that delta change to the model is basically cached. And when you click on the Save to Central, it's just that delta change that gets pushed up to the cloud. And then vice versa. So let's say, I've got Douglas, who's my structural engineer down here, and Douglas says, hey, Caesar, change the structural plan. I added this new wide flange column. Whenever I say reload latest, I basically received Douglas's column update. So with you geek folks out there, if you're out there, we have a built-in software accelerator. You should always know that you're working on the locally cached file. Those of you that have used central files before, that you're never, as a team, you're never working on the actual central file. You're always working on a locally found file. Same thing here. So in the terms of what you do today with Revit Server, this is actually more transparent. You don't know it, but it will locally cache the file for you and make you work on that file. So you don't have to take the exercise of, download a copy of the central file, make it local and all that stuff. It's done for you. So let's flip the page in the book and go into enhanced communication. This is part 2. And we know that Revit looks something like this. Hopefully you're on, 2017, 2018, and it's not really set for communication. And so we have our friends in the design industries using things like Skype and, this slide's dated with Messenger showing up there, but Link is another big one. We have built into collaboration for Revit this tool called Communicator. And Communicator, one of the main values it holds is that it does chatting very, very well. So Communicator is a tool that pops out when you're running Revit. Those people that are currently signed into Revit and using it right now would show up as part of the communication on this team. The project that we're working on here is the small medical center. So I'm going to see when people sign in the morning in Revit, I'm going to see them show up there. And then I can do either, a direct chat with this person next to me by saying, hey, just reloaded the architectural and structural models. But we could actually do a team chat. So when more people show up and you want to send a general message to the entire team, this team chat can be used through Communicator as well. And nice little features from the tools down here to allow for screen capture. Moral of the story, you would use this to try to cut back on email about incidental little things about the project. Are we using a butt jam in here? Or are we using a miter jam here? Really generalized questions that kind of bottleneck email. You can do this all through Communicator, and then everything is basically logged historically. And the last part about this is that you can export all of this communication. Safe to say that you're not going to export this to a text file. Now let me clean up my screen a little bit here because I just made a giant mess of it. The other parts of Communicator as well include what we call contextual awareness, or seeing the activity feed, who's doing what. And this means when Tom is syncing to Central, you will actually see this symbol kind of materialize here like this. And what this is preventing is a bottleneck of people just randomly coincidentally at the same time clicking Save to Central, because, we're coming up to lunch. We typically would all save to Central now, and all of a sudden there's like a bottleneck of people trying to save that Central model. So now we can actually see who's saving what and when their saves are complete and successful, and see it when they're not. Sometimes the syncs to Central fail, but at least now you're going to know. And the last part that's really worthwhile knowing about this is when you're working as a team, you may not be working on the exact same file at the exact same time. And it is good to see that if you are part of architecture group, let's say, for example, Emily here is part of the architecture group, she's working on model 2. But we can see that Tom is actually working on model 1. And whenever different people save to central, and they're saving different Revit files. All of this will be communicated through this tool. So we get all kinds of great oversight on the latest and greatest, and then we in ourselves can actually take advantage of this, for our own well-being. All right, flip the page. Page 3. We're going to connect the entire team now, and in this, we're saying, everybody that was using Revit, you can still keep listening because this pertains to you, but anybody that needs to see AutoCAD files, that needs to see like a C, view, markup, comment, that is part of the BIM 360 team component, which comes with collaboration for Revit. So the Revit users, when they buy collaboration for Revit, they get team included. There's no additional charge. But I've got a project manager. He doesn't want to use Revit. He threatens me when he's told to use Revit to open up a file. So I will buy him a license of team. It's much more cost effective to buy the license of team, which is about $120 for the year, and have my project manager happy with a more cost effective license, rather than him taking a $2,000 or whatever the cost of Revit is license on his desktop just so he can open and view files. Like, that's nonsense. So team is great at these things for those people. Keep that in mind. And some of the pretty pictures that go along with this is 2D and 3D markup, live review. I send Douglas a link of, this is a link of this model. I send this link to Douglas, and then as I spin this model, Douglas is sharing my screen, and he will also see this model spin with his device, whether it's a tablet or whether it's his computer. One of the largest differentiators, and stick a fork in this, DWG, RVT, these native file formats, DOC, Excel, these are all natively viewed in team. Yeah, you can view PDF, but why do you want to view PDF during design and during design collaboration? Why do you want to print off a second set of documents when you can just post these files up here natively? Because the viewers will allow for the 2D and 3D viewing of Revit and DWG files. And the design markup also happens on these drawing and Revit files, DWG. Okay, so this is fantastic because the workflow is much more expedited on the native files, and they're non-editable at that point. You can obviously download them if you wanted to, but if you've got a trust relationship with your people, you say, go up there, mark them up, comment, and let's move on. So virtually any file format can be viewed through the native web browser or the app, and then virtually on any device. So yes, it's Android, iOS, and desktop. These mobile devices, whether they're Android or iOS, have the capabilities of going offline with your data files, which means you don't need an internet connection or a cell service to see them. This flavor right here, which is the web side, the web version, of course, needs an internet connection, but the moral of the story is that the tool sets are practically the same in each instance and operate in the same manner. So, collaboration for Revit, what's in the box? You get this central file work sharing in the cloud. When you buy collaboration for Revit, or we call it C4R as the acronym, included in C4R is BIM 360 Team. It's a per license basis. Communicator, that chat tool that's inside of Revit. The ability to model managements and versioning of the files, that's part of collaboration for Revit and BIM 360 Team. The scalable licensing. So whether you buy a full license of C4R, or if you buy an individual license of Team, like I was saying for my project manager at $120, the scalable license means you can allocate the license to the person. The license follows the person on any device. If that person leaves the firm or moves on to another project, you can revoke that license and then administer it to somebody else. So it's a nice, flexible way of licensing. If you guys are familiar with Autodesk licensing from the past, it used to follow the machine, so it's different. And essentially, the investment here is an $800 investment, but literally, if it just saves 10 minutes a week per person, it pays for itself over the duration of a year. We have a lot of large projects, medium-sized projects, and small projects on C4R overall. And the main parts of these projects are all about accessing the project data. That's why projects are being mandated, or architects that are leading projects are asking their subs to follow along suit. You know, we want to access the project data. So that's collaboration for Revit. And I thought I would just highlight a direction that Autodesk is taking with this beta program. I'm not sure if it's still open as a beta program, but I've got access to it. I'll show it to you today. It's called Autodesk Drive. Time out. Do not mistake this for A360 Drive. It is called Autodesk Drive, and I'll save you the technobabble. It's a virtual drive. So it shows up beside your C drive. It acts like a virtual drive, like your K or L drive, and you can access your team hubs right from your desktop or Window Explorer. It also does carry with it an offline capability, very much like Microsoft OneDrive. But if we follow the KISS rule, it is basically a virtual drive. It's as simple as that. So let's take a look now at what all of this fuss is about. And right in Revit, this is where Revit 2018, it does come with Collaborate for Revit guts in it. The service is not activated. But when you see Revit, I'll just zoom into it here for us, the Collaborate tab will become your best friend. Now, right now, the Collaborate tab is showing me this ability to manage models. This is without even a single model open right now, but you can see this model with this moniker has a path of BIM 360. The project name is May 2107. And in this case here, this is living in the cloud. This is not. And the same thing over here, when you say open, you're going to see BIM 360 up here now. And this is your gateway to the cloud BIM 360 team, where your files will live. Essentially, let's open up this. Let's start from scratch. This file called TT Insurance is local to my server or local to my hard drive. I want to show you how easy it is to, kick that thing up to the cloud. This is about a 25 megabyte file. We have, it's on the go, 3D views. It's got sheets already on the go. Collaborate in the cloud. Now, there was very, very little pre-work set up here. The only thing that was set up that I recommend before you click on the Collaborate in Cloud button is that you have to set up the project on BIM 360 team first. So once you set up the project, you'll have that project name listed here. So for example, let's plug it into this 2107. And we can say, let's rename this file. Now that it's moving off my local desktop, we can say that this is my Arch, let's say 30% DD, right? So we're giving it a practical name, and then we say initiate. Now, if it's not a central file, it'll turn it into a central file. If it is a central file, it'll just push it up to the cloud automatically without changing the work sets. But it's doing these steps first. This is pushing the full, 25 megabytes up to the cloud. And then once it's up in the cloud, you're going to see, let me just see if I can move this. You're going to see my name at the top there where it says Arch 30% DD now. It says, okay, I just pushed it up to the cloud. I'm going to pull back a locally cached file to you, Caesar, and then you can start working on it. So right now, that file at the top, that file name at the top where it says Arch 30%, I am truly working on my locally cached file, and I can just close this off. So here we are in the cloud. It does a default at first. It does a default publish so that some project managers can start to see some of the default sheets and 3D views in the cloud. But as architects and engineers, the traditional workflow, when they work together, they like to work on something for a week and not have, architectural changes sporadically happen throughout the day, throughout the week. As engineers, we would say, give us a set to work on. We'll work on it, and then we'll come back towards the end of the week if we wanted to. So you have that choice of being dynamic, of working day to day, or hour to hour, and saving to central. That's fine. You just you click on save locally if you're going to go to get a coffee. You click on save to central if you're going to literally go for lunch or something like that. And you would put in some notes here to say like no changes, just a save to central. So if there was changes, those delta changes will be saved. But there's nothing much that's saved other than it's publishing out these sheets. And so that's a little bit of a segue. We have in the theme of Star Wars, we have the power, or whatever the case is. If we want to lock down what our wonderful project managers need to see, because as the Revit users, we might have a bunch of sheets on the go and a bunch of 3D views and sections on the go, but none of them are fully complete. When you only want to give people access to see parts of the model and sheets, you go to a publish setting. And this feature has been in Revit for a long time. You create a new publish set. And then from this publish set, you go ahead and choose the actual sheets that you wish to have sent to BIM 360 Teams site. So in this case now, if I save and close this set, I will only send to BIM 360 Team, which means my project manager. They won't get to see all of these sheets here in Revit. They will only get to see these sheets and this one 3D view. So it's your call how you want to publish. So once you save and close it, the rule is you don't just save to central now. You use this next button, which is your manage cloud models. And this is where the power of Superman or the power of God kind of comes in, where you say, in May 2107, I want to publish this file right here. You can see Arch 30% DD, and I'll zoom into it here. You can see this one here has got this symbol, meaning, hey, you haven't published latest. You changed like the publishing sets. If you want that latest published set to go to the cloud, you need to click this button. But if you see this one says the latest published set here is already in the cloud. So we would click this, and it would give us this educational information page, and you say, yep, got it. And now it's going to go ahead and publish this. And you say, you can close this window during publishing. We'll get back to you. While I'm in this dialog box, I want to show you something from an administrative standpoint. You will still, if your setting is Revit, will save 10 versions of the model every time you click on save and save to central. You can view those versions here. You would also delete the master central files here. I had one customer say, hey, Caesar, I keep deleting the file that's in team, and the bloody thing keeps showing up after we click, after we click on save to central, or after we click on publish. Like, what's going on? Well, the mystery behind it all is we actually have a central repository in the cloud for C4R, and then we have a mirrored image for publishing. So when you click on published, it pushes it to team, but the holy grail is really on this C4R server. So if you want to kill the actual central file, you're going to come here and delete it. But this is where you would view the versions. So in this case here, if I view versions of my 30% DD, this is where it's going to come back and say you've got like 1 or 2 versions now, because we just created it this morning as we were speaking, right? And if you've never seen a spinning wheel before, there's a spinning wheel. So let's toggle over, because there's nothing. Oh yes, there's a. I want to show you. Let me show you team. So here we are in our hub, and this is the part 3 of the discussion. The this is where the files, the published files land. My hub, this would be your company name up here. These would be the projects that you're hosting in your company. We have this one project called Hospital 2016. And what you see is what you're going to get. So in this case here, this is a good chance for me to see if I can bring my cell phone back to light. Let me just coordinate this a little bit better. Okay, let me take this off here, and for some reason this is not cooperating so good, so bear with me. So I've got my 2018, let me bring that back up because there's something else I wanted to show you in there. I've got my team site, and I wanted to bring up my phone. So let me make sure that my reflector is running. Okay, that's running. So let me see if I can connect my phone to it here now. There we go. Okay, so let's put these two puppies side by side. So here we have it. So when you're using the web flavor, we're inside the project 2016. This is what you're seeing. So when I scroll this, you can see this is a JPEG. These are DWGs up here. You can see the icons for them. Down here, these are Revit files. This is what's been published to this site. You also see here, this and this are Microsoft document files. That's an Excel file. So native viewing of all these file types right within Team, and just like my phone over here. So you see, I scroll down, there's my Microsoft Word file. You just click on it with your finger, and you would look at it. You can read it. You can, open it up on a separate app on your phone. The same thing with the Excel file, issue details. You would click on it, but at least the native viewer's here. So if you just want to view it, you've got the native viewer, and that's half the battle sometimes. There is one file that I want to show you from Revit. So right within here, this one here, this novemberhospital.rvt. So for example, this is the one I want to show you here on my iPhone. These are the exact same files. So the iPhone's cooler, so let's open it up there. So while we have this one opening up here, you're going to see issues and comments and all of these, these are your little push pins of zooming in, and you can still see what comments are where with these comment numbers. And then you also have an inventory list down here to go to. So this inventory list says, hey, Caesar, you've got 4 sheets to examine. So right now you can see that I'm on sheet A101. If it was an AutoCAD DWG, you would have layers, but because it's Revit, you actually have properties. So when you choose on an object with your phone, with your finger, it's a Revit object, so it'll show you the properties of that object. And then the last one, this is where all of the rubber really hits the road, the comments and the versioning. So for example, over here, all of these bubbles were the same bubbles. To get to this comments and versioning, this is where you look at the overview of your entire documentation. So see all these comments? This is on version 4 of this hospital.rvt. So we had comments and redline markups. You can see my comment trail here. I said, what are your thoughts? And he goes, let me post the latest shop drawings. And of course, I had my friend Jill say, I'm the owner, chiming into it. So push pins or redline markups all show up as comments, and you can do both through your phone, your iPad, or through your desktop. And when you're doing it, let me just close this off. Zooming in, you would touch on one of these circles and jump to a specific comment. That one there said, please address the steel landing. Okay, got it. Moving up here, there's comment number 19. You would choose on it, and it would open up that comment. Let's just say 19. Oh, okay, there's nothing much to it. It was just a simple example I gave in another past demo, but you would reply to it, or you'd say, trash it. So great design tools, all at your fingertips here. And there's one thing that I really want to show you about a workflow. So we are on version 4. We had 3 past versions. You know what the workflow is like if you're in the design side of things. You make a design, somebody marks it up, you change it, you upload it again, you need to create a version of it, and then check it again, right? So in this case here, let's scroll down. And versioning actually helps to track these comments. We are on version 4, and there were 16 comments in version 4. So when I scroll down, you're going to see this one right here. So we are in version 3 now, version 3 of the Revit file, right? That's, stay with me. And in this case here, this exercise that I went through, comment number 17 was, this is a true to case design exercise. So we're clicking on this comment. It shows me the entire thread. And this is where I kind of laugh at my job because I play alone in the sandbox a lot. So I become not only the project lead, but the project manager, as well as the Revit guy and the summer student, all combined into one sandbox, right? So, this is the markup that I did. Add the wall and door in the corridor and move the exam room walls. The project manager says, yeah, do it. I approve the move. The Revit guy says, okay, hands it off to Merck, who's a summer student, saying, please let me know that this is done. And then Merck responds back saying, this is cool to go. This is in blue because whenever you do commenting, you can do the @ sign, and then you start typing in the person's name, and it shows up here. And then that person, like Gilles, that's my buddy in Montreal, he is going to get an email, and it's going to say, Gilles, you have a comment on this design, and it has a single link to bring him back to this page. Now that all of this is done, this is where the comparison takes place. And even though I've shown this, hundreds of times, I always say, from my perspective as a past design firm guy, this really holds a lot of water. These are buttons highlighting elements in the Revit model which were either added, removed, or modified, right? So modification means changing the property, adding data, moving it or transforming it by inches left or right. So when you turn that off, you only see now the 2 things which were added, and there they are right there, visually, as well as based on data. And the nice thing around it is the selecting tool, where you can select and it tells you this element has been added in version 4. And you can do this cross-examination also by discipline: architecture, structure, electric, plumbing, mechanical systems. So this is the last piece which really drove it home for me. Programmatically, if you are responsible for the client's program and you're trying to find spatial allocation, this version 4 in blue, right? How big was it in version 3? It was this big. That is huge. So these transformations of Revit models from one version to another are highlighted as well as calculated because they are Revit models. That's why the Revit format is so key and a huge differentiator for Autodesk. Now, there are more things that we can do, of course, within our apps, as well as within our desktop side of things. Let's go back here. So, you see the details and activities. You can see things in list view as well. Instead of thumbnail view, you can see sorted in list. It tracks everything by user identification, who, what, when, did what, last updated, the activity trail, as well as up here, we also have things like a calendar, a discussion page, a wiki page, and all of that is right here at your fingertips on your phone as well. So you've got these different buttons like measuring, marking up. You can take a picture, actually, which is really cool too. You can take a picture right from your phone and add it to the the digital paper trail, or mail it. It's up to you. This is my home view, and then we can go backwards a little bit, and this is where we have these data, activity, and wiki pages right here. So the activity, here's the activity thread on my website, and here's the activity thing on my phone side. And then wiki pages at the top. You can use Wiki for a number of different things. I've made recommendations that put a wiki that contains file locations across many servers. For new people that come out of the job, just point them to the wiki to say, if you want to learn about where everything's stored in this project, go to the wiki and you'll find that out. If you want to track meeting minutes, you can also do meeting minutes in here too, and format the meeting minutes specifically. This is a very small example, but I've got a deeper example on another website as well. You can format it, different text heights, and so on. So overall, a lot of power on your phone. You also have your recent button down here, which shows you the last 3 files that you were currently checking out. And in this case here, the offline capability, this is where you would grab files before you lose your connection to the web. You would click on the offline button and choose files to take offline with you. So for example, I want to take this one and go offline with it. And you can view the 3D models here too. I wasn't showing you the 3D models, but maybe I should. Let's go back here. Let's go to the data. There's a 3D model right there. Let's go ahead and choose it. Quite dynamic. So I'm zooming in. You can still do the selection of things. So for example, I choose this roof, and then from that roof, then you can actually go ahead and grab the properties of it. So in this case here, what are the properties? Oh, okay, it's a 12-inch generic roof. It's design. It's a design detail. It's not a detailed design yet. It's just in design development. And then you could also hide that roof if you wanted to as well. Hide it, and then zoom in, rotate around, and just keep hiding things as you go along so that you can start to dig into the model, right? So that was a lot. Sorry, I'll turn off the fire hose now so that you're not consuming all of that water. Let's pause my we don't have to pause my presentation. I'm going to pause my chatter, and I'll bring my friends back from EDSI back onto the phone. Let's see if you have any questions. And if you didn't type a question and you do have a question, go ahead and type it in. Let's see if we can get an answer to you. So yeah, either Douglas or anybody from EDSI, do we have any questions that we can try to answer?
First of all, thanks for a fantastic presentation. You do a great job demonstrating the capabilities of this product, and I can tell you that this has been, we've been Autodesk resellers now for 31 years, and I tell you, I think this product right now is as hot a product as we've ever had. I mean, it's really helping a lot of clients collaborate effectively. It's just a fantastic tool. So, thanks to you, and thanks to Autodesk for really hitting the nail on the head with this product. It's been great.
Excellent.
Couple questions. Do you want to start off, Douglas?
One question is, what is the storage limit for BIM 360 Team?
Yeah, good question. So there is a starting limit. So Team is really the mechanism of storage capacity. So when you buy C4R, like I said, it comes with Team, and that's where your beginning storage capacity starts. That's 500 gigabytes to start. What happens when you buy multiple licenses of Team or C4R, and they are housed with one consultant, one architect, for example, the data storage can be pooled together. So effectively, if you have 4 team licenses or 4 C4R licenses, you can have 2 terabytes of storage. So that's the first thing. As a follow-up question answer for that, when we do versioning for you, you saw how I had 4 versions of that Revit file. That Revit file was 20 megabytes. You don't lose 80 megabytes. So it's not 4 times 20 because we have 4 versions. You have 1 version of 20 megabytes. That's your current version. That's what basically you get used as consumption. But realistically, if you can use 500 gigabytes to start, I would be impressed.
We've also got several questions, Caesar, about when do I need team? When do I need C4R? Can you kind of recap to help our customers, just understand, when they need each of those licenses?
Sure. Your entry point is BIM 360 team. And so basically, if you said, hey, we do some Revit, we do some AutoCAD, we don't have a need to, and we may be multidiscipline as a firm as well. So we have less of a need to collaborate in a Revit central file with multiple firms in geographic locations, or our firm is only in one office location. So that could be an argument where you say, we only need team, and you're only putting up inside of that. You're using. I don't know if I can share my screen again. If you can push the permission back to me from your side.
Yep.
There we go. Yep. Okay, there we go. I'm just going to share my screen. Sounds good. So, if you wanted to start at the lowest entry point, which is just buying BIM 360 team, you would simply use the upload feature and you would upload any of these files to team. And that basically sets the ground rules of you're only going to use team for viewing, commenting, and marking up. You have no intention of really transacting through a central file. If you are the architect and I am the engineer, if you're using this lowest entry point, you would upload your architectural file, and then I would have to come up here, and then I would have to say, download your architectural file so that I can insert it into my Revit environment. And then when I'm done my engineering file, I then would upload my engineering file, and then you would download my engineering file. So we are using a nice cloud way of sending files back and forth, but it's almost like a glorified Dropbox. We are wasting time by doing the upload and download. That's the first thing. The second thing is we are no closer to real time than we were when we bought this. We do get some great new tools in marking up and commenting. So you have to set that realization that we're going to use time to upload and download, and we have to use our managed links and stuff like that inside of Revit. If you want to come closer to real-time collaboration, and if you want to just, I am tired of the upload, download stuff, I just want to click on Reload Latest, that's collaboration for Revit. If you want to use the Communicator tool, that's what I didn't show you. Let me open up this cloud model. If you want to use a Communicator tool, we have people buying this not just for the Communicator tool, but they find a really great advantage in the Communicator tool. That was the one thing that I forgot to show you because my Revit was hanging. Under Collaborate, we have this Communicator tool, and this is what I was going to show you here. So in this project of 2107, we can take a look at this project, or we can go into all of the projects that we're working on. So this is collaboration for Revit because collaboration for Revit includes Communicator, and because it includes Communicator, you can then go into any of these projects, so the Audubon project, and you can see the paper trail here as far as comments and screen captures. And we would work inside of this Revit environment. You know, we don't want this door anymore. Okay, let's find. We could delete this door. And once we delete that door, we're going to click on Save to Central. And you would put that comment, deleted door. Just by doing this and saving to Central, you're going to see now it's telling everybody, hey, Caesar's deleting the door, that wing nut. You can't get out of this in case of a fire now. But, you know, Douglas, who's the structural engineer, can say, yeah, excellent. Now I can put my cross bracing right in that section of wall. So Douglas would actually say, reload latest. And he would actually see this change like almost instantly, like the reload latest. There was no new changes, of course, but you would see those windows come through again. Like he would see this reloading latest, and that's it. So that's a huge, you know, benefit right there. When I put the equation, if it saves you 10 minutes a week per person of using C4R, it pays itself in a year. That's hopefully that clarifies things.
That was awesome, Caesar. I do have another question for you. How would you recommend a workflow? This is another question. How would you recommend a workflow for your IT person? So you definitely have your IT that wants to back up the file, the model to the server. What would be your recommended workflow for that?
Awesome question. If I knew who was asking it, and if I was with you right now, I'd like give you $1 or buy you a coffee, or if it was after 5, buy you a beer. There's two things. You can, number one, you can push files and pull files as far as moving data back and forth using the team site, like the upload or download capabilities. But this is the one thing that I was highlighting as far as a beta program. BIM 360 or Autodesk Drive is what I said is in beta, and it shows up as a virtual drive right beside your C drive. And so this is my virtual drive. So when I click on it, it will expose all of the hubs that I have access to, and inside of those hubs, all of the projects of which I have access to. So Skyscraper, this was my hub. So just like a virtual drive, you know, here's all the folders, and May 2107, that's the folder we're working in. Here's all the files, and you can grab this and drag it right into your server for backing up if you wanted to. Or vice versa. From your server, you can push files up to team just like that through here. Now, I don't know what the future holds for Autodesk Drive. It should be coming out, you know, in the next little while. I don't have an exact date, but stay tuned for it. Try to get the beta if it's available. Autodesk Drive, again, not A360 Drive. What I would like to see Autodesk Drive do is hopefully in the future, maybe it'll synchronize file folders local to the cloud. I don't think it does it yet entirely, but you know, it'd be a nice thing to have that syncing capability, because I can just, you know, you can almost smell it down here in the taskbar. When you right click on it, you can say work offline, which has like a syncing kind of mechanism. And then it also has a pendings action capability as well if something fails to get synchronized up there. So I hope, was that the answer to the question? I think I went off track a little bit.
No, you hit it right on.
Okay.
That was fantastic. So is that, Caesar, is Autodesk Drive going to be a separate product, or do you anticipate that it will be bundled with other products?
Yeah, not sure. Not sure what's going to happen with that. Right now, it is a standalone beta. It installs exactly as you would see it right here. You know, I've been with Autodesk since 2000, so I'll speak from a historical context. Collaboration for Revit, like this collaborate in the cloud, never used to exist in 2016. Didn't exist in 2017. It was separate. Now it's kind of bundled into 2018. It's there, like I said, the mechanics are there. You just have to pay for the service to turn it on. So I would say at first, and if it comes out sooner than later, it'll come out probably standalone, and probably you know, in the future, if I had to guess, just guess, it probably would be somehow latched in, because this Autodesk Drive, it is the answer to this question. If anybody's seen this kind of presentation before, Collaboration for Revit enables Revit linking. So you can see external resource right here. You can see May 2107. So we could link a Revit file because we bought Collaboration for Revit. But what some folks were saying were missing was, where's that button, that external reference button? I'm clicking on Link CAD and it's missing. But because I installed that beta of Autodesk Drive, you just, you know, come down here to my computer. There it is right there. You double click this and now you can link DWGs from the cloud. And when you do this, let's see if I can push fate for a second here.
That was cool.
So let's go into 2107 and rectangles.dwg, and let's put it into, I'm in the bad location here because I'm in the 3D model. But when I put this link in of a DWG, because I use my beta of Autodesk Drive, it will, when I come back and click on Manage Links, you will see that it's, oh, there we go. You will see that it's a virtual path and not a local user profile path. So any IT person that's out there listening to me knows exactly what I'm talking about. So we're in Manage Links. If you were to go to CAD format, see, this is what you want. You want a virtual path. This, in the different betas that we've had, has been like hit and miss. The old way that it used to say is C drive / users / Ruess Caesar. It was like my local path, which is like, no. So now Autodesk Drive in the beta format is properly linking to a cloud path. So that means that, you know, I send this file to Douglas and he opens it, it will respect this cloud path and still open this XREF, which is perfect.
Very nice.
Yep. So yeah, I'm at the top of my time, unfortunately. If there are other questions, I'm certainly open to coming back to you guys and answering them with you and the customers. And the same thing goes for you guys out there and the customers. If you want to hear more, contact EDSI, and if we need to do another rehash, let's do it.
Sounds great. Well, let's just go ahead and wrap it up, Caesar. Thanks again. On behalf of EDSI and Autodesk, you know, we appreciate everybody's participation. Once again, we will be sending out links to this recorded session. And if you have additional questions, as Caesar said, or if you just want to get set up with Revit collaboration, just send us an email or give us a call. So thanks again, and hope everyone has a great day.